Brent Daniels, my man.
Yeah.
Bro, you going up to the cabin this weekend or what?
Oh yeah. Going up Friday. Gonna do the press conference for the Ultimate Closers Olympics.
Where's that going to be hosted?
Like,
is that going to be on a specific website or what?
What's that?
Is that going to be hosted on a specific website or what?
Yeah. That's on the closersolympics.com, I think. Hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, closersolympics.com. It's gonna be really cool, man. You should be on there for sure, but I know that you're, too busy.
Well, actually, Elijah Rubin reached out to me and he asked me like 3 or 4 times, but I was getting ready to launch the Subject 2 course.
Yep.
And I was having to say no to like everything, but because of how much time and energy I was putting into this other deal. And he reaches out to me. He's like, bro, if you don't reply to me, literally, that's what I just looked at the text like a couple of days ago. He goes, if you don't reply to me, I'm filling your shoes with somebody else.
Yep.
And then I replied to him like 5 days later and I missed it. But I'm excited, like just to watch that from the sidelines. I'm so excited. I'm a fan of the majority of those guys. I know who they are. A couple guys I don't, but that's always fun. Sometimes just watching guys that you've never seen before. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just excited to see who they match up with Steve Trang round 1. Steve's gonna pull out all the stops.
What's the format? Walk me through that format.
So it's everybody gets a half hour. It is other people's leads, right? So it's not like your hot leads that you can just bring in, and you got a half hour on speakerphone to like start closing deals over the phone, and then it's judged based on different criteria on what the point system is, right? So building rapport is 3 points, negotiations is 2 points, handling objections is 2 points, creative options, if that presents itself as 1 point, the biggest net ROI is 5 points, pain points is 2 points, and signing the contract is 3. I think signing the contract should be worth all 20 points, to be honest. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Olympics, right? I think that's all the points.
Yeah.
You get the contract, you get no glory, baby.
That's right. That is right. So, yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to be a judge with Carlos Reyes and Max Maxwell, and just see who comes out of this thing, because it is just 12 killers, man. It's really going to be cool. And it's going to test the whole thought of, can you do a big event where people can really get a lot of value out of it from Zoom, or it's something like that. It's not Zoom, but it's like online. You know what I mean? Because that would be super. It'd be super hard to do it on in person. You know?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It would actually be a nightmare to do it on person. In fact, doing it virtually is probably the only way that could work, because people would have access to being able to make their calls and do what they need to do. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. So it's going to be really cool. I know Steve's going to be going hard. I know that Elijah is going to be really he's going to start off with his affirmations. I mean, Chris Jefferson, RJ. Oh man, it's going to be Keith. I mean, it's going to be intense.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like Chris Jefferson came out not too long ago. He was on your podcast, and we were all able to hang out with him for a couple of days. I look forward to seeing Chris Jefferson. Is Donovan Ruffin on there?
Yep. Aaron Bevins,
I love Donovan.
Quentin Flores. Yeah, it's going to be crazy,
bro.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Awesome.
We're just warming people up, bro.
We're getting it warmed up. That's awesome. So, yeah, really excited for our guest today. It's going to be phenomenal. I mean, it's somebody that we've really been looking forward to, and hopefully he jumps on here pretty soon and we can introduce him. And I know that Jamil's going to do the intro today, because I just fumble and bumble it. So,
what are you talking about?
We'll leave it to the former strip club DJ, Jamil Hamji.
Yes. Actually, it wasn't a strip club. It was a roller skating rink.
That's it. That's it.
And he was a DJ for a roller derby.
No, but they both sound like the exact same guy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
Bro, how exciting is it that we've got Sean Terry on today?
I mean, you know, I want to share a little story about Sean because it's funny. Actually, I'll wait for him to pop on. I'll wait for Sean to pop on because there he is. Ooh.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Sean Terry. You're gonna pop him on, Jamil?
Hey!
Sean Terry. Oh my gosh.
I'm not wearing a hat. I gotta wear my hat.
The guys with the hair on the bottom, the guys with the hats up top. It looks
There we go. That works. How you guys doing?
Welcome everybody to Wholesale Hotline. We are so excited for this episode today because we have the greatest of all time in many people's books. In fact, I am a huge fan of Max Maxwell, and Max Maxwell was on our show a few weeks ago and stated that Sean Terry was not only his inspiration, but the guy, the reason why he is where he is today, the person who let him know that it was possible for him to be a thought influencer, a person who could be successful in this business, someone who could get out there and take action. You made it sound not only simple, digestible, and actionable, Sean, but sexy. And because of that, he has changed not only the trajectory of his life and his family's life, but thousands of people underneath him. Sean, I don't think you need an introduction, but I would love for everybody to just send virtual hugs to our very, very dear friend, Mr. America himself, Sean Terry. Thank you for joining us on.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate the introduction and being on with all you guys here in Phoenix, Arizona. We're all in Phoenix, right?
We are. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the only reason why is I've been around longer than pretty much everybody. See, I've got the gray hair going on there. So I've been teaching now for 10 years. I started my podcast when there was really no real estate there's like 3 real estate podcasts out there, and I recorded my first episode in my Range Rover. I think it was in May or June, and I remember sitting in my Range Rover because I didn't record at my house because I had my kids there. They were young at the time. My wife was like the honey to-do list, so I had no quiet place. I didn't have an office because I was working from home. So I got a little recorder and I sat in my Range Rover in the heat and I recorded my first podcast back in 2000. When was that? 2010.
People who don't live in Phoenix have no idea what that even means when you say out in the heat.
Yeah. So here's the thing that happened is I recorded my first ever episode. And I had the AC was on, and I went back home, I listened to it, and I was trying to edit it. I had to teach myself how to edit audio. And I listened to it, and I had this blowing air conditioning sound. So I had to go back into the car, and I turned off the AC. It's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm dripping sweat recording my first podcast. And I didn't know how to get it up to iTunes. I didn't know how to figure out websites. Figure out how to do auto editing and stuff on my audio. I tried to cut out every single until finally I did that for probably the first 15 episodes. And I didn't think anyone was listening to it until a good friend of mine now, Joe McCall, called me up. I used to leave my phone number, my cell phone number on the line. And Joe McCall called me up and said, "Hey, I've been listening to your podcast." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got one person listening to my podcast." And that he actually inspired me to keep actually going. So that's so awesome.
And Sean, you're not he's not letting people know how successful this podcast is, guys. If you haven't listened to Sean's podcast, it is like the most successful podcast in the space. He literally is the GOAT. He's the GOAT. You're the GOAT. You're the guy everybody, a lot of people. In fact, Sean, I wanted to tell a story, and I'm glad you're on because I can tell it now. So the people who actually brought me into wholesaling in Phoenix, Arizona, are from you, Mike Lima and Tim Wynn. And I know you and Mike Lima used to be partners back in the day.
Good
so
dude.
Indirectly, Sean, you were a massive influence in my life, because had you and Mike not been business partners and been those original gangsters in this space, this wouldn't be here. And so I owe you a debt of gratitude, my friend. We are all inspired by you. We are all admirers of you, and just super happy, blessed to have you on this today. Thank you so much.
Can I say something real quick? When we went and hung out at Sean Terry's event, when was that? That was 4 or 5 months ago.
Yep. Amazing event. Sean absolutely crushed it. But what I was the most impressed with was his team. The people he has working for him are top-notch, absolute amazing people. You're a business owner, you realize that's not by chance. That is by absolutely working hard and understanding a system and hiring the right people intentionally. Everybody you have on your team, your disposition guy, your video content guy, your acquisition people, everybody that runs your event. I was so absolutely impressed by your team, Sean. From one business owner to you, I can't even believe what you've been able to assemble. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of ups and downs. I remember I've always thought of maybe I should hire cheap. And remember on my first virtual assistant I ever hired, I hired, she was like $2.30 an hour for a virtual assistant. Wow. To take all my inbound calls from all of our direct mail and our marketing and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, I got a smoking deal. I'll hire for $2.30. She'll take all the phone calls. And then I realized that she wouldn't show up. We weren't booking any calls. We're getting complaints. Sometimes she'd be on, sometimes she'd be off. Couldn't hardly ever get a hold of her. And then I realized, after trying that 2 and 3 and 4 times, that it's, you pay for what you get essentially. And then instead of looking at people as, a monetary, if I pay them this, I looked at people more finding great people and looking at them as an investment in someone that can pour into, and you can literally change someone's life and give them an opportunity to become the best that they can be within the organization. Because not everybody wants to handle all the marketing and deal with the payroll and deal with anything like that, but they want to be part of an organization that they can go out and grow and accomplish, whatever they want to accomplish. And, Brandon, he's worked with me for years. He went and bought a bunch of rental properties and sold a bunch of rental properties, flipped some houses and did some disposition. He's an awesome dude. And
Brandon put together, in my opinion, one of the best masterminds I've ever been a part of, the Go Giver group.
Go Giver, yep.
And he talks about you every single month in that group, just about how you were able to just like set him free, give him permission to be successful at the level he's at. I was talking to Justin Colby last night.
Yeah.
Him and I were chatting on Sunday about all the things he's learned from you. And that was one of the main topics we talked about, was hiring people and then allowing them to basically fill the shoes that you've set forward for them to walk in. And I was just like, man, that's amazing. He goes, hey, if you ever want to talk to Sean, that's the number one thing I've learned from Sean, is watching him put together a really good team and allowing his people to be successful.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, to be straight up and honest, is that I hire people and I give them a lot of responsibility. I tell them where we're going. Here's the vision. Here's what we're going to accomplish. Let's go. And I'm like, if you need me, come and get me. I'll be able to answer questions there for you, but I let them kind of figure it out. Right. I don't sit by them for 90 days straight. That's what I should do. I think I should do that, but I find some really good people. I just hired recently a dispo guy about 3 weeks ago. And he came from a college space where he ran a 1,000-person sales team across the country for large colleges to basically to sell students into the college. He's used to making about $400,000 a year, and he got job offers from other different, like Pepperdine offered him a big job, but he didn't want to move his family. So I sat down and mapped out the opportunity here, and basically I really haven't had time to train him. I spent 2 hours on a Zoom call kind of showing him what we do and how we do it. But he's crushing it now. He's selling properties all across the country. He picked it up real quick. He's working with our team phenomenally. He understands sales. He just had to understand what we're doing. He doesn't really know a lot about real estate, and that's where a lot of the questions come in. But I mean, someone like that, I mean, he can literally blow up that whole entire department.
Sean, so when you're starting out in your wholesale business, I think one of the most common questions we get on Wholesale Hotline is people want to know how to build their business, right? So one of the most common questions we get is, what should be my first hire in a wholesale business? I'm a solopreneur. I've now got maybe 2 deals under my belt. I've made a $10,000 assignment fee and maybe another $15,000 assignment fee. I've got a little bit of money. I want to scale. What should be my first hire? What would you suggest going through this business with your experience?
Well, first off, you got to understand, okay, what's your business model, right? What's your business model first? Once you establish a business model, then you can establish an income goal. And once you have an income goal and your income becomes predictable, then we can talk about the first hire. So if we go back first, what's the business model? I think the most profitable business model after doing this for 17 years is having a local model where you're able to, in your local market, do deals in your local market, and have a national model where you can do deals all across the country, right? So if you have both of those, then you can scale indefinitely to as big as you want to get. So once you have your business model down, then you've got to say, okay, listen, I have to support another life. I want to support someone else and be able to know that I can pay them every single month. And I don't want to have a month where I can say, oh, sorry, I missed payroll, I can't pay you. And now they're in a tough situation. So what I suggest for someone to do is get to a point where you can consistently, for 3 months in a row, produce $20,000 a month in revenue, 3 months in a row consistently, and then understand the KPIs, key performance indicators behind it, right? So they can create predictability in the 4th month, 5th month, and 6th month, right? Meaning you understand what a cost per lead is. You understand what average deal size is. You understand, what's your conversion rate. So now you can say, listen, I can spend X amount of dollars, let's call it $5,000, $2,000, and I will generate X amount of leads. Let's say $100 a lead, you produce leads, right? And then out of those leads, I can convert 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 of those leads. Now you have a predictable business instead of just throwing darts at the board. If you understand predictability and you have a consistent income proven, you have the confidence, you have a good relationship with a closing agent, good relationship with several buyers, you've closed some deals. Now when you get to that point and you've done that, your first hire would be a lead manager, right? You have a lead manager, you can pay a lead manager $15 an hour and pay him $100 per deal, and that would be great. I would put him on a W-2 income. We use Gusto. Gusto is our payroll platform that we use, which is phenomenal. And then they're off to the races. And what they're going to do specifically is they're going to handle all the inbound lead management. They're going to talk to all the sellers. They're going to book all the appointments on a local basis. And then on a national basis, if you're marketing nationally, they can book the appointments for you, kind of sort them out so you can become the closer. So you're only talking to people over the phone that you can close, or locally, you're actually going to appointments and meeting sellers.
So Sean, at that point, the person who's still managing, pulling the list, doing the texting and setting all those kind of things up is still me. Yep. But basically the lead manager is doing my intake and filtering people and then putting them on my calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So in when you're in the business initially, you have essentially an organizational chart. And the organizational chart's the visionary, the implementer, the lead manager. You've got the acquisition, you got disposition, you got the marketing person. And initially your name's on all those different spots, and you're running 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, just like we all are, right? You're hustling doing that. Now, once you understand these things, hey, listen, this is temporary, so I can learn the business. Then you can say, okay, now I want to start hiring away, which is going to allow you to have more time to work on your business versus working in the business. So essentially, once you start understanding the structure, then you can hire, and now you can give this person maybe another role. So maybe maybe they're going to take on some marketing side of the disposition. Maybe they're going to send out email blasts. Maybe they're going to send out text campaigns. So if you have one hire and they have a specific position, they're going to have the roles, responsibilities, and the KPIs to report on. But also they might have to take on another role and position. But if they understand, listen, this is for a limited time until I can hire for someone for that, then they're okay with it. You actually cross train people throughout the organization. So if one person goes on vacation, you can still operate and not have a dip in income.
Hey, Sean, do you mind, we've got a really good friend of ours, Rafael, who used to work for you, Rafa Cortez. Yep. He talks a lot about building operation manuals and all that kind of stuff. Do you mind reading the question on this screen and giving this guy an answer? Can you read that?
Sure. As you build your business, did you document or create your operational manual in order to create procedural systems? I wish I was that good. I've actually had my team do it. I didn't do it. I had my team do it. So what I did was, so for our acquisition, I basically said, okay, I want you to document an acquisition process. So we had the scripts. We had basically how, when a lead comes in, what exactly happens with that lead within our CRM, what happens when we close it over the phone. So I had them essentially document what they do, and they put it into a binder for each position. So then when we onboard a new hire for our acquisition team, we can give them this binder, and it tells them, essentially, who we are, what we stand for. These are your scripts that you're going to use, and then the procedure of what happens when we get the deal. So, which helps. What's up, man?
Awesome. That great response, Sean. Thank you so much. The format of the show is awesome in the sense that we occasionally read questions that people ask in the feed, and we like to bring live guests on as well to ask a question. Cool. I actually know Malcolm. Pace knows Malcolm, and he took the time to create a question for us. And Malcolm, welcome to Wholesale Hotline. Well, we're super happy to have you on here. We'd love to hear your question, brother. First of all, tell us what market you're in, your experience level, and then go ahead and ask.
Happy to be here, first off, with all of you. So much free value that you all give on a regular basis. Sean, Terry, I remember several years ago downloading your deal calculator and trying to utilize that. I'm just happy to be here. But I'm in Pittsburgh, PA. I'm fairly new in a sense that I'm just starting to get the ball rolling on things. I mean, I've been learning about the industry and the process for, I could say, years, honestly, but I've never pulled the trigger on things. I guess you could say I was scared or suffered from analysis paralysis, or would take a couple little steps here and there and then stop because I was getting a bunch of no's, and then I'd come back to it. It was just, here and there with things, but finally got something under contract, and I feel like it's kind of solid here. I think I have a cash buyer for that, and I'm looking forward to closing on it.
Boom!
Why does it look like this
Awesome.
YouTube video?
That's exciting. I can tell you in that in that first phase is when you're getting started and you're kind of tiptoeing away through your first deal. Creating momentum is the number one thing you can do right out of the gate. So if I'm teaching someone, and they're getting started initially in the business, or even I'm hiring someone, I want to get them to create momentum. And it's really not setting up your LLC or organizing or getting your shirts or getting the cards and anything like that. It's literally getting marketing out, whether it be direct mail, Google AdWords, Ringless voicemail, texting, calling, whatever you're doing, talking to people. The bottom line is you've got to create momentum by talking to people, and that's what you're doing. And what happens is a lot of people, they spend all their focus on getting a deal. Once they get a deal, then they go all their focus on, okay, now I got to find a buyer. And then they take that buyer, then all their focus to getting it closed so they can get a check. And now they're back at the beginning. So, it's creating that momentum consistently. So while you're finding that buyer, you're still booking appointments with those sellers as marketing is coming in. And now you get that buyer in place. Now you're going to take it to the transition where now you're going to get it closed. And now you've got some of those people, those sellers are now moving into contracts. And if you keep that flow and instead of just focusing on what's there in front of you and focus on the next moving that step forward, then you'll be able to create 2 deals a month, 3 deals a month, 4 deals a month as a solopreneur. And then you get to that point where you're doing $20,000 a month consistently, and then you can bring on somebody else. But I see people, they shift and they get, oh, I closed the deal, I made 10 grand. Now they're starting all back to square one. They got no marketing going. And I can tell you this right now is that if you are going to equate income, right? Income, what creates consistent income? Consistent marketing. So if I'm sitting down, I'm going to talk to you and say, listen, I'm trying to get to work. I'm trying to get money coming in. I'm trying to get my first deal. My first question is, what are you doing for marketing? How many leads did you get in last week? How many, offers did you make? How many contracts did you get? And that will tell me the pulse of your business, of what's happening. I mean, literally today alone, we've got, let me see my CRM. Today alone, we've got, what does this say? I can't read it. Oh yeah, 135 leads in today.
Wow.
Just today alone. So it's like, and that's just today, right? And it's not even the whole day is done yet. So, so if you're getting 135 leads in a day, 150 leads in today, so we're tracking the amount of leads we get, the amount of offers we're making, the amount of contracts we get, the amount of revenue, all that way through. That creates consistency in your business.
Malcolm, how'd you find that deal, buddy?
I pulled a list. From PropStream for vacant houses. I sent out text blasts through batch, and once I spoke to the seller, he responded to a text. I called him. Once I spoke to him, made an offer, he accepted. Yep. Sent my contract through DocuSign, and then I found my buyer through a method that I took from Jerry Norton, like reverse engineering a listing on Zillow. Like I looked for houses that appeared to be flips that were in the same market that I was doing. And I found one that was like a couple, like maybe less than a half a mile from the property I have under contract. And I seen that it was bought for like $85,000 and sold for $232,000. So I found a listing agent for that listing, and that's who I'm working with right now to get something closed out.
And you just called them up?
Yeah, I called him. They didn't necessarily have a number or anything, but I just took the name and Googled it. I Googled his name and the brokerage he was with, and he was happy to accept my phone call. We met at the property the next day, and he later called me back afterwards and asked me, what my assignment contract looks like. And that was one of my questions. He's a realtor, so he did a seller disclosure filled out from my seller. So I did that. Like, is that something that you guys would normally run into?
So wait a minute. So the question is, seller disclosure. Ask that question again.
So he gave you a seller disclosure statement?
Yes, to send to my seller. He was saying that for him to be involved, he would have to have that seller disclosure photo, because basically he's bringing the buyer to the table.
Yeah, sometimes when you're working with licensed agents, they have to have specific paperwork that they have to turn into their broker to be compliant so that they can get paid, because they actually get paid through their brokerage. So sometimes they're gonna request a little bit more paperwork than somebody that's unrepresented. But what are you going to make on this? Because I got this bell here and it is itching to be rung. So what are you going to make on this?
How much are you going to make on your first deal, Malcolm?
$30,000.
Nice.
You animal.
Nice. Booyah.
How amazing is that?
I mean, that's gross. I told him that I would match his 3% commission that he would get for representing the buyer. I told him I would match that. And then the seller has a bunch of stuff that's in the house and they live 4 hours away. I told them that I would happily move all that stuff and store it for them for a period of time. So, I'm going to pay for storage and pay for the clean out and whatever once, it closes.
Are you doing this part-time? Do you have a full-time job?
No, this is it. Like I'm balls to the wall with this. Like other than this, I was doing affiliate marketing. So
awesome, man. That is a great start. Keep it going. Just like Sean said, it's the consistency. It's that momentum, right? Just keep going. Save that money. Keep that money and keep building. Keep building. Keep building. Keep building until, like Sean said, 3 months of consistency, and then start. Once you get somebody that you're responsible for their finances, that's, you want to make sure you've got that consistency, just like Sean said. Fantastic, man. What an incredible story. Yeah.
Malcolm, we're proud of you, bro. You did it, man. You took action. Malcolm's one of my mentoring students, so I'm especially proud of him, and just super happy for what you've got going on, bro. Keep crushing it.
Just the start.
It's just the beginning, man. I'll see you on the group call.
Oh, absolutely.
Tuesday. All right. Take care, man.
I can't wait. All right.
Wow, guys.
What's cool about that is that he pointed out he learned things from Sean Terry a couple years ago. Then he learned things from other people. He learned things from Jerry Norton. And last time I had lunch with Jerry Norton was sitting there talking about how Sean Terry was one of his biggest inspirations in getting this business as well. It's amazing the amount of people you've impacted, Sean.
Well, it's kind of surreal because I've actually never had lunch with Jerry Norton. We've done stuff together and stuff like that, promotions together and stuff. But he's a good dude, and he's right down this, about an hour down the street here. But a really, really good dude, and he's doing great on YouTube too, blowing up.
Yep. My origin story with you, Sean, is in 2013, I discovered what wholesaling was. I've been real estate licensed since 2004. So it took me a long time. And then so I Googled it, and on YouTube, there's a guy sitting in his backyard. His hair's looking great. It was from 3 years before. I thought it was like this brand new concept. I thought it was, you've been talking about this online at least since 2010. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy, man. It was just, you've been doing it. You're incredible. So thank you.
Content out there. It's just with all the views and stuff like that. It's fun. I just love, hearing stories like that where it makes an impact in people. And, I think that's why we're here. We're here to not make $1 billion. I mean, that's great, but we're here to make impact on other people's lives in a positive way. If we can do that, that's awesome.
This is a great question.
Great question. And guys, for those of you who are just joining us, we've got the GOAT with us, Sean Terry. The reason why the three hosts are actually in the show, I love Brent Daniels. It's the trifecta. He is the lead generation master. Pace Corby over here. He's one of the best converters I've ever seen. This man basically speaks silk. Everything in his mouth is not only smooth, but you can wear it. And myself, I've sold a few houses here or there, right? So
a couple.
we're the trifecta, and when we add Sean Terry's experience and volume to the table, I think we've done a total combined bajillion deals, right? I'm not even gonna. I think, guys, right here on this screen is a bajillion wholesale deals. It's amazing. This is a really great question here from Paul Sullivan, and I think this is one that I would love to touch on. Do you recommend starting in a market with high ARVs for huge spreads? So what are your thoughts on that, Sean?
Well, actually, what is working incredibly well is we don't really target the high ARVs. We're targeting smaller cities that are at least 50,000 population, where we call it at least 10 or more flippers, and you can get that from PropStream. It's a selection called flippers, where they're actually agents that represent these buyers that bought houses, fixed them, and sold them. It's a great way to find buyers. It's like reverse engineering, what he just talked about, but using PropStream to do it. So so fit to that, and it's close, adjacent to like a major city, like it's an hour to 45 minutes away. We found our best success in our huge spreads in those cities with zero competition, no iBuyers. I mean, we just dropped a direct mail piece last week that literally, we're over 4%, which is unheard of for direct mail.
Wow.
So, yeah. And
typically direct mail is 1% to 2% at best, right?
Yeah.
Will you explain that, Sean? Just what 4%? 4% of what? What does that mean?
4% of like 10,000. So, it's like
no. I mean like
4%. 4%, like a direct mail campaign. So, give me an example. In Arizona, if we send direct mail, our response rates are 0.0007%. Right. So you have to send a lot of direct mail to generate any leads. And the problem with Phoenix is they're talking to 10 other different wholesalers or iBuyers when iBuyers are in the market. So there's a lot of competition. When you have a lot of competition, it drives prices up. Well, we're finding in these small towns that there is no other competition. There is no other iBuyers. There is no anybody else talking to them. And no one's mailing these people. No one's ringless voicemailing these people in doing that. So once we send out mail, we're getting a significant amount of response. Typically, anywhere from 2 to 4% is the response rates we're getting.
Amazing.
When I was running all the marketing for home investors nationwide, so I was in charge of the marketing committee for all 1,100 franchisees.
Wow.
Our best market was getting just a little bit over 1%. Mm-hmm. So when Sean says he's getting a response rate of 4%, that is an absolute amazing feat that you guys did. So how are the leads coming in, Sean? Are you guys crushing it on those leads, or how do you like the types of leads?
Yeah, we're targeting absentee owners. We're targeting 10-year ownership, 50% equity, houses 1980 and below. So there's deferred maintenance on them. We make sure that it's a local owner, and it just gives us a smaller list. And if you target a list like that, now we're actually finding, because they're absentee owners, we're actually finding buyers in those markets as well that are calling in and saying, hey, I'm not selling, but I'm buying. So we're putting them on our buyers list. And then we're finding these absentee owners that want to sell as well. And so it's actually working amazing. Our Google AdWords campaigns work ridiculous as well. I mean, we're getting cost per leads of right now $11.54.
That's amazing.
So $11.54.
Would you speak to that a little bit more? Because I don't think the other three gentlemen on this show with you today, myself, Brent, or Pace, are really doing a lot of PPC. And for those of you that are watching, PPC is pay-per-click. That's Google AdWords. That's spending money on the internet to bring in inbound leads. Sean is amazing at it. In fact, I've kind of gone down one of the rabbit holes of one of Sean's ads and just was contacted. Sorry, Sean, I know that cost you some money. But it was early on in the days, and you're just really, really good. Talk a little bit about what you're doing in PPC. What somebody, if they wanted to start a PPC campaign, what kind of budget should they have to get started with? What's the barrier to entry to doing pay-per-click?
Okay, so first off, I've been doing pay-per-click advertising since early 2006. National campaigns. We used to buy properties at the auction, fix them up, and sell them nationally to investor buyers across the country prior to the crash. So we've been doing campaigns for a while. I spent millions and millions of dollars on AdWords campaigns. The theory behind AdWords is you take 5,000 to 6,000 keywords, you shove it into a campaign, you set up conversion tracking, and then you see which keywords convert and which keywords don't convert. So that's the theory behind it. I'll make it simple for you. Most people in the industry believe that the more you restrict Google on a specific zip code or city or whatever, the better results you're going to get. If you talk to any pay-per-click advertising service out there, I mean, I've talked to tons of them. Essentially, they're basically saying you gotta tighten down on only the zip codes you want to get leads from. The problem is in Phoenix, if you do that, in Oklahoma, if you do that, in Vegas, if you do that, even Columbus, Ohio, if you do that, in Phoenix alone is $482 cost per lead. $482 cost per lead to generate a targeted lead. Now, the problem is that leads coming in, they're talking to multiple other people, they're talking to other investors, and it becomes difficult. So what I did is I started, I'm always testing like ridiculous all the time, constantly. So we started testing, and I first went into Vegas, and then I first went in and also went into Columbus. So we targeted really specific right into Vegas in some of the different zip codes. Then I broadened it to just the county, and then I broadened it just to the state. And then I went to Columbus. I went to Columbus, Ohio. Then we just hit Ohio and just hit the state. Now, what we found is because we broadened it, we had all these little cities that were coming in, and our cost per conversion went down. Now, if you understand Google is incredibly intelligent. They have about 2,500 different data points on each one of us, meaning they buy data from cell phone companies, they buy data from Facebook. Data is like, obviously we know, this Pace, right? Is like the king, right? So with data, they take all these data points plus search, what you search, and they graph it, down to the point where they have all these different data points on people. And what they do is what makes Google work, and the secret is you target a state. So to answer your question, if someone's going to get started in Google, you want to set it up on a maximized conversion campaign, and maximized conversion allows Google to bring you the perfect person that will convert based upon previous conversions. So let me explain that. So you have a maximized conversion, you target the state, right? And what Google does is you create a conversion tracking. Once you get 100 conversions, then now they have enough data that when they can tell when someone searches that they can basically put your ad in front of the right person, and it drives that cost per lead like this. So initially when we did our campaigns, we were paying about $80 to $100 a lead. But as the Google got smarter, and as the campaign was learning, and as the more conversions we got, that cost per lead literally plummeted now down to $11.54 a lead that we're getting, and we're generating thousands and thousands and thousands of leads a month.
Amazing. Sean, we get 500 to 700 live views, and over the course of a week, 7,000 to 10,000 people. I think that those people are going to be spending about 45 minutes to an hour just rewinding what you said, because there was so much in there that was just jaw-dropping, amazing information. Brent, I'm sorry I cut you off.
No. I mean, Sean, how important, and what is your maybe share with our audience your process for, you got a lead, how fast do you have to actually talk to them, right? Or respond to them, or what does that process look like? Because leads are great, converting them is where it's at, though.
Yeah, conversion is key, absolutely. Now, it's interesting when you give Google a broader kind of scope, you're going to get leads from all. So if I'm going to hit Ohio, I'm going to get leads that are in hodunk towns in the middle of nowhere, and I'm going to get leads that are perfect deals, that are amazing, that are awesome, right? And you're going to get leads in so all over the place at a great cost per lead. So essentially, what happens is when our leads come in, we use basically a software, voice over IP called Dialpad. Dialpad works phenomenal. So our whole entire team, and we have an acquisition department, a disposition department. And when someone hits the website, they can fill out a form, which then the lead comes into our CRM, and then we'll call them immediately that will come in. Or we have a phone number that's set up with Google tracking, and they click that number and it goes to a simul call to my sales team, and the first open person will answer that call and get them over the phone. So now once we got them on the line, and they're going to go through, once they come in through our system, we're going to get their email because they're a form fill, and we prompt them to call in, which works phenomenally well. They'll go into an aggressive sequence, follow-up sequence, to make sure we'll get them back on the line. But as soon as we get them on the phone and we're talking to them, we'll do typically a 1 call or a 2 call close. So it's a 1 call or a 2 call close. If it's a national deal or locally, we'll set up an appointment. We'll pretty much get that seller all the way across the finish line. So we're going to either meet them and get the contract, or we're just going to do, even locally, get a contract over the phone.
So your acquisition managers, are they comping it like instantly?
Yeah, so if we do a 1 call close, what we do is we're going to do a deep dive, gather all the information, find out about the seller, figure out the magic problem, find out the repairs. Then we're going to do a set, and a set is we're going to set a 15-minute appointment. Then we go from a set, and then we're going to do research and then prepare documents. Then we're going to do all the research, figure out what we can offer on the property. Then we're going to get back to them on the phone in 15 minutes. And from there, we literally we close it from there.
Guys, I think this next question from Rob Reyes is for both Pace and Sean, because you guys are the converters and you guys understand how to build rapport. Pace, would you share with our audience today what are some of the most creative ways that you're using right now to build rapport?
I think a lot of people don't talk about this enough, to be honest. They think that building rapport is talking about cats, dogs, your favorite sandwich, colors, your favorite color and that kind of stuff. The only time I bring up any personal information is to validate what they want to talk about. So if they say, I've got a grandson or whatever, then I'll say, oh my gosh, one of my favorite things was being a grandson to my grandmother, those kind of things. I don't talk about myself. Where I build rapport is by building credibility. And where you build credibility is asking good questions that solve that seller's problem. So ultimately, sellers don't ask yourself this question. Do you want to be asked your favorite color? Do you want to be asked your favorite food by some random person over the phone? That's not building rapport. Building rapport is showing them that you can solve their problem at a high level, and that builds credibility. That is somebody that's ultimately going to convert way more than somebody that's just wasting the seller's time building rapport through fake or bad questions.
Love it. Love it. Sean?
Yeah, I would say, and I absolutely 100% agree with all that for sure. Essentially, it's like, have you ever met someone and you're at the bank, right? And someone asks you a question, and next thing you know, you find out you're from their own hometown. Like I'm from South Burlington, Vermont, right? Vermont. They have cows, they have maple syrup, there's cow tipping in Vermont. Have you ever been to Vermont? There's nothing to do in Vermont, right? But except eat maple syrup and tip cows, right?
Sounds like Canada.
Yeah, I know. But anybody that's been from Vermont knows Vermont. And so you're at the grocery store, or you're at the bank, whatever, and someone goes, yeah, I'm from South Burlington, Vermont. Immediately you have a connection because you have history and you have that connection. You go, oh, have you been to this place? Have you been to that place? Oh, did you go to this school? And it builds that I call it subliminal rapport. So the question becomes, how do you build subliminal rapport with someone without having that connection? Well, you have to build that connection. And when we do it over the phone, remember, these are form fills are coming in, or maybe calls that are coming in over the phone. We have the ability to use Google Maps, right? And Google Maps is phenomenal because you can find specific little areas or restaurants or Target or little things that are around that neighborhood, and you can have them talk about, John Bob's Steakhouse that's right down the street. Hey, you've been to John Bob's Steakhouse, and have them start talking about, yes, it's kind of random, but I'm looking for something that I can build that connection or rapport with. And through the conversation initially, when we're talking about, the property and absolutely finding and solving that problem, doing that deep dive is what we call it. Things will come out, and those stories will come out just like that. In relating with them in that certain way will build that connection that will get them to like you and trust you. The problem is a lot of people, they don't go through that rapport phase where you got to get someone to like and trust you. And initially when someone gets on the phone with you, they just tolerate you. They don't like you and trust you. So you got to get them to the phase of liking and trusting before you can go out there and actually make an offer and then negotiate with someone. And then once you get to a point where you can kind of joke around with them to the point where you go, come on, I offered you here. Come on, give me a break here. I'm trying to make this deal work. You're busting my balls here. What's happening, right? You know, if you can get to that phase with them, then you pretty much got the deal done.
And actually listen to what they say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that whole Bill Belichick thing where, you know, just do your job on this one play. Just do your job this one play. If you're on the phone and you're trying to get past their invisible force field, that's that reflex no, you have got to actually listen to what they're saying and respond and have a great tone of voice and match them and mirror them. You know what I mean? Make them feel like there's somebody that they know and like.
Exactly.
I love it. All those comments, guys, were bang on. I like Anthony Harper's question here because we've got 3 Phoenix juggernauts who are all competitors in this space, yet all 3 of us have collaborated. Sean, I've collaborated with you and your team. Brent, we've collaborated. You guys have collaborated with each other. Pace, everyone knows we collaborate. And so I love it when people ask this question because I believe that this is a fear-based thought, right? And the question is it certain markets that are too saturated with wholesalers that you wouldn't recommend going to, or is there no such thing? He's thinking about virtually wholesaling in Orlando. I'd love to get your guys' perspective on that. Why don't you start us off, Brent?
Yeah, this is you. I mean, this is exactly what Jamil has like put the blueprint to. I mean, here's the thing. First of all, we promote and we push to squad up. Find the people in your market. Get the best people that you can around you that are going to be kind and optimistic and positive and proactive, right? Yeah. So let's just assume you have that, Anthony. The other thing is, if you feel like there's so many people, well, guess what? I bet a lot of those people are new. And guess what they don't have? Cash buyers, right? So why don't you be the guy that helps them take their deal across the finish line by having the most amazing cash buyer database and helping these people along, especially as they're starting out. So I think right off the bat, if you feel like there's too much, first of all, it is fear-based. That's not true. We're in an unbelievably competitive market. We still all have $1 million businesses that we've had for years and years and years, and it keeps going. It hasn't fallen apart. It hasn't crumbled. So find great people around you and then be the guy in your area that helps people get their deals across the finish line. Love it. What about you, Sean? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I agree. It's definitely a fear-based scarcity mindset. I've never really, all of us, right, have never even thought about competition. I'm talking about Google AdWords. We're talking about direct mail campaigns. We're talking about exactly what we do. If I had that mentality, then I'd never teach what I do. I just hoard all the information and keep it myself, wouldn't tell anybody. So that being said, is that we're all in the same market here in Phoenix, and we've never tripped across the deal that you guys, I've never tripped across the deal that you guys have done. I don't think you've ever tripped across a deal. And even if we did, we'd probably high five each other and say, hey, let's just split it, right? It's like, good deal. Hey, you want to go? We just figure out a way to do it. So we rarely cross paths with other people in the market because there's plenty of deals to go out and do. But let me pivot a little bit and talk real quick, is that of where we are in our current environment, in our current market. There is a massive wave of distressed properties and distressed sellers that are in the queue that are about to hit in a massive way in the next probably 6 to 8 months. And now's not the time to sit around. Now's not the time to contemplate, to consider, to evaluate, to discuss. Maybe I'm going to do it. Now's the time to go all in with what you got, and position yourself, because when this way, our leads are so influxed right now. On our normal regular marketing spend, we're getting massive amounts of leads. There's 30 million people unemployed. Guess what? They're going to have to sell their houses. Did you see Wells Fargo and Chase just came out and said no more HELOCs? So they can't pull cash out of their house. So if they can't pull cash out of their house, they're going to be like, you know what? I got to sell my house, and I got to sell it quick. And guess what? Make sure you're in front of that wave, and that's where fortunes are made. To sit on the sideline and kind of wait or kind of go, well, should I do Orlando or this? Just do them all. Go all in.
Love that. Can I jump on that previous question, Jamil?
Yeah, please do.
So I did a flip. I bought it from Sean 8 months ago. You had a disposition guy named Sean at the time. I don't know if you still have him or not.
Sean Conner.
But I bought a flip from Sean. One of my best buy and holds I bought from Brent Daniels a couple of months ago. It was a subject to from a lady who had passed away. I took it through probate, paid Brent Daniels. Jamil has sold me some of the best deals I've ever done. In fact, one of my best cash flowing rental properties came from Jamil. Doug Hopkins sold me, basically referred my personal house to me as a subject to. He couldn't make it. He's like, I don't want to deal with subject to or any of that kind of stuff. I ended up buying the house and moving into it. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for my competition, I would have had a lot less deals done.
Smart.
So are they truly my competition or are they my collaborators? And I look at Sean, Terry, and I say, thank you for existing. Thank you for getting deals. I look at Brent Daniels and Jamil and Doug Hopkins and all the guys in our world. And I say, thank you for going out and getting the deals, because there are so many that I simply can't even get in touch with all the sellers. So you guys doing the outreach and selling me the deals benefits me, whether it's creative financing, whether it's fixing and flipping, or maybe even sometimes co-wholesaling. I became the mobile home guy in East Mesa a couple of years ago, where anytime another wholesaler got a deal in East Mesa, they'd say, I don't know what to do with this mobile home. And I was JVing like 4 or 5 deals a month for people for a good 6 months. Guys, don't think about competition. Listen to what Brent Daniels just said. Yep. Be the guy in that market that people can utilize it as a resource, as a tool. And don't look at yourself as competition. It's collaboration. I thank goodness that all these guys exist. My best deals came from my competition.
Love it. Yeah. And that leads us right into this next statement and question here from Realty Brothers Investments asking, Jamil, we're virtually wholesaling in Orlando and Tampa. We're looking to find deals to send to Keegley to help us sell. Any advice on what we can do to help your organization reach the deal goals? And my answer to that, guys, and again, one of the most amazing things that we offer, I know Sean offers this, I know Pace does, Brent as well. Always check with a buyer or somebody that you're going to work with before you're going out to the property. Look, as Pace has mentioned many times before, when he's got his calendar and he's being directed to where he's supposed to go on whatever appointment, he's got the property address, he's got Keegley's buy number, okay, and he's got Keegley's cell number in his phone. Now, he trusts me enough, he's going to show it to you guys right now. He trusts our company enough to know that we're not going to go out to his property and steal from him or try to get his contract. We're going to give him the number we'll buy it at so that he can backstop that deal and actually connect. So, Realty Brothers, what I would tell you is reach out to the rep that you're working with in those markets. I believe you're working with Justin. Reach out to him, and before you go out to a property, find out where you need to be on that contract.
Seriously, look at this, dude. Like, so before I go on an appointment, I only go on appointments now that my team can't close over the phone. But before I go to the appointment, because I don't have time, right? We're running all of us are running multiple businesses. I have my team fill out 10 pieces of information, and the last piece of information is Keegley's number. Sweet. So when I go to the house, I don't have to comp it. I don't have to verify. I already have somebody at a high level has already told me what they can sell that property for because they understand their buyers. I simply just get that number. My team puts it in the calendar. So when I show up to the front doorstep at that house, I go, perfect. Now I know what I need to do. I need to stay well below that number. So a lot of times people will ask, hey, I got a house under contract and now I can't sell it. What do? I need to go back and renegotiate. I don't know about you guys, but I hate renegotiating with a seller after I've contracted.
Sucks.
What are your thoughts?
I just want to say, I think that's brilliant because that solves a huge fear. It gives you positioning with a seller to the point where, listen, I work with a huge investment company, investment group, and here's where we need to be to make this deal work today. And we can get it closed, and they can portray confidence instead of walking in and going, well, you kind of really don't know, and you're kind of fearful, especially on a brand new. But if you have that behind you, you have a number behind you, you have that Keegley behind you to close that deal, that eliminates a huge fear factor for a lot of brand new people.
Sean, do you ever backstop a deal like that? Do you ever have a deal and a buyer in mind and find out where your buyer would be before you go out because you have trust? Do you ever do that and kind of reverse engineer the deal like that?
Well, in Phoenix, we're pretty good at dialing in, just like all you guys are, dialing in comps and stuff like that, and how we'll look and look at properties. Maybe my guys will come and say, hey, what do you think about this? So I'll backstop it for them, I guess you could say. Nationally, when we're doing deals, it's difficult. I mean, we're getting deals all over the place where, I mean, we got a deal in O'Fallon, Illinois, Springfield, Oregon. We've got, Round Lake. Anybody know where Round Lake is? Never heard of Round Lake, right?
Any viewers on any of the places that John just mentioned, we want you to say something here so that we can connect you to Sean Terry's team. Also, guys, I wanna make a note. We have nearly 500 people on the show right now, live eyeballs watching us. Do us all a favor. Take a picture of you watching this show. Tag Flip to Freedom at Flip to Freedom on Instagram. Tag Pace Morby. Tag Brent Daniels and myself. We want to wake up tomorrow to 100 of you guys sharing this because, first of all, it was a lot to get Sean on here. We love Sean, and he's just not available for everybody, right? So we want to thank Sean for taking the time out of his busy day with his family to come on and pour in. So please, everyone, make sure you're liking and sharing, and make sure that we all show Sean that Wholesale Hotline love. So make sure.
Okay, I got a deal for you, right? We got a deal. Okay, so anybody listening right now, you take a snapshot of this, share it on Instagram. You have to tag all 4 of us, and we'll randomly pick a winner of any of the tags on there, and I will PayPal the winner $250 cash.
Oh,
all right.
Free money, guys.
Free money. Hey, just call me. It's the PPP plan, baby. It's the PPP plan.
I love that. I love that.
But you got to do it, and you got to do it after. You got to get this, take it, do it, and when will we pick the winner?
Let's pick them Wednesday.
Today's
Monday night.
Okay, Wednesday by 5:00, we'll pick a winner. So we'll collaborate together, and we'll pick a winner. So so people, even if you're watching this after hours, it's already played. You can still participate if it's Wednesday, the 6th at 5 p.m. If you're watching it before that, then you can take a picture of it, post it on Instagram, tag all 4 of us, and then we'll select a winner, and I will personally PayPal you $250. Hey,
wow. Hey, Pace, can you put everybody's Instagram handle?
That's fine.
Everybody's Instagram handle is, I think, on their deal.
There was a question here. I don't want to take too much time plugging.
Wait, real quick, Jamil, just to finish that up. I think somebody asked, is there people that are in your Keighley markets, is there somebody specific you want them to reach out to check if it's, because you guys are 100% right. Deal or no deal, when you're starting in a new market or just starting in wholesaling and you've been doing from some other industry for forever, is the most anxiety you feel, right? You need to have that confidence. So is there somebody that you have designated in different markets, or is it you? Or
Absolutely. So I play a lot of air traffic control through Instagram. I get a lot of DMs from people with deals. So just DM me on Instagram. I will respond, and I will actually send you the email, phone number, and name of the rep in the market that will work for you. And if I'm not in that market, then I'll just tell you we're not in that market yet. But guys, we just launched franchising yesterday. And today was my first day talking to people. Tomorrow will be my second. It's amazing. It's gone absolutely nuts. And so we will be nationwide within 6 months. So if you're watching this show, within 6 months, we'll be in your market and we'll be helping you sell the deal. That's all I have for a plug.
That's great, man. Actually, that's pretty cool. I'll be excited.
Awesome. Well, Sean, I'd love to be able to help you guys with some of the deals that you've got in your virtual markets too. So maybe we need to be texting a little bit too. I'll talk to you a little bit later about that. See how our teams can collaborate.
Cool. Perfect.
Love it. Love it. So let's get another question on here.
Hey, Sean, real quick, while we're waiting for another question, because I get this question. I don't get it because I don't do a lot of mail, but I see it a lot in other wholesaling groups. When you send mail out to somebody and you're getting a response, and acquisition managers like ready to answer 24/7? I mean, are they trained for that? Is there specific times? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they'll work from, we typically are covering lines from like 7 a.m. to about 6 p.m., right? So that's how we do it. After hours, it's going to go to a voice recording.
Got it.
It's on my list, I think, to set up and I've used Pat Live before where they can inbound and stuff like that. Really hasn't worked that well, but that was years ago. So I'm thinking about getting them back online and doing that, but they'll just go to voicemail. It creates a lead within our system. And then the next morning they'll come back. They'll sort through all the leads coming in and then they'll distribute them.
Awesome.
So
here's a great question that I think's one that I have rules on. It would be interesting to get your opinion, Sean. What amounts do you recommend to people as a guideline for deciding whether or not to do a double escrow or an assignment?
My rule of thumb has always been if it's 5,000 or less, we'll do an assignment. If it's 5,000 or more, we'll do a double escrow. That's primarily in Phoenix. I can tell you though, nationally on all the deals we do, we have been doing assignment agreements, but with a caveat, meaning what we'll do is we'll get a purchase contract first. We'll negotiate the purchase contract first. We'll get the earnest money, non-refundable earnest money. Our clause in our contract says we have the right to flip it to an assignment agreement. After we get the earnest money, then we flip it to an assignment agreement about 72 hours prior to close.
Awesome. Great. And what do you guys typically, Brent and Pace, do you guys have hard and fast rules for that?
Pace?
No. We only when there's a probate attorney that referred me the deal. If a probate attorney referred the deal to me, we always close on it, and then we essentially double close. But anything outside of that, a probate attorney, we just do an assignment. Now, I've had some pretty big ones. We had one a year and a half ago. It was like $91,000, and I probably should have double closed that. Yeah. But I didn't. And really stupid mistake on my part. We had an unhappy seller for sure.
You had an unhappy seller. And then also I do want to say, and I know for buyers here in Phoenix, they truly, a lot of them don't care what you're making on the deal. But when it closes via an assignment, it gets added as a line item on the HUD, and it doesn't show that the buyer actually paid what they paid for the property on their tax record, right? And so when your assignment fee is $50,000 and you've got a buyer, say you've got a property under contract at $100,000, you assign it for $150,000, there's a $50,000 assignment there. When it records at $100,000. Yeah. And now what happens to that guy when he goes to fix and flip the property is an appraisal nightmare. It really is hard because he's got to justify such an increase in value. The appraiser doesn't understand what happened in an assignment. So you created all of this extra anxiety and extra hurdles for your buyer to have to overcome later on. So in my opinion, those large assignment fees are hard on repeat business because those buyers are going to be apprehensive to enter back into that situation knowing what they've just gone through. Yeah. So I like to double close anything over $15,000. That's my hard and fast rule.
Yeah, I've had flipping or flippers, right? Flipper cash buyers want to do the double close, right? Or double escrow or whatever it is, just depending on the situation. And the biggest spreads that I've had from an assignment were people that wanted to actually live in the property. So they didn't really care. So it just depends. I mean, I would have that conversation with your cash buyers and just, let them know, hey, listen, I negotiated the pants off of this. It is like a home run. Do you have any problem with me making a ton on this? Yes, no. And then, you can go from there. But I think depending on who your cash buyer is and how much business you do with them will depend on that strategy.
Here's a question specifically for Sean, and I believe it has to do with his REI Automator. It's a process and a tool that Sean offers his coaching students. So if you guys don't know about that, make sure you check out Sean Terry's programs. He's a real deal. He's not a guru, he's a duru. He is the guy who is actively doing deals. We work with his team all the time. This guy's the GOAT. He's amazing. But Sean, what number changes are you having people make when they're using the REI Automator to adjust for COVID?
Well, the cool thing is inside of REI Automator, we had, which is essentially a white label of PropStream, right? So REI Automator is a white label of PropStream. So if you understand PropStream, you know what REI Automator is. The only differential factor between the two, there's a couple things, but one being the biggest one, is we had the developers create what's called an offer automator. And we have our sales team establish 4 numbers. And I'll talk about the COVID here in a second. 4 numbers. We'd have to know the ARV, and we have to know the exit percentage. Basically, what we can sell on a percentage basis, what we can sell the property for. So we have to know what we can sell it for. Then we want to have our max allowable offer. Then we have what's called the goal target number. So those are the 4 numbers that we need that we can easily analyze the property. So we had them develop inside REI Automator a tool that pulls all the comparable sales within a specific criteria that we gave, and it gives an actual accurate ARV for any property nationally across the country. And then you flip a switch and it goes, okay, here's your exit number, and it will flip, and now you'll see a percentage and an actual exit number of what you can sell the property for. So it gives you a number what you can sell it for right there. Then you put a profit margin, 20,000, and now as a 20,000, then we have a goal target number. Now people always, tell them, and I'll talk about COVID here in a second, but people always say, I don't understand why my spreads I can't get my spreads bigger. We always have our guys start as a goal target number. A goal target number is typically 5% less than your max allowable. That's your wiggle room. That's your negotiating. That's where you can start at a number lower, then negotiate up to your max allowable, which works really well. So now it's ensuring that our company spreads typically end up between $18,000 and $30,000 spreads because we're using that negotiating. Now with COVID-19, if an exit number, essentially, let's say an exit number is 73% in a particular market, what we're doing is we're deducting that exit number by 10%. So there's a little percentage in there that you can go in. Instead of 73, we'll put in 63. It will give us, and then all the numbers will change.
Awesome.
So you're saying you've adjusted down 10% for COVID?
Correct.
Love it. Here's a great question again from Anthony. He's got some really great ones. And I love this because it speaks to transparency and how we get around explaining our model to sellers. Sean, you've probably been on more seller appointments than I've been on. And I don't know about Pace because Pace sleeps at sellers' houses. So I don't know what that's like. But,
I've done that too.
but how do you explain to a seller what your business model is, and how do you keep things transparent on the up and up?
Well, first off,
we have from both of you guys about that too.
Yeah, well, first off, we have specifically in our contract, and we go through and say, listen, we don't know we're an investment team, and our goal is to make a profit, right? I'm an investor. I'm not living in the house. I'm not bringing my family over here, even though I love it and the place looks great. But I'm here as an investor, and I'm here to make a profit. That's number one. So we don't know specifically what we're going to do with the property at this time, but we could fix and flip the property. We're going to buy it, fix and sell it. We could buy and rent the property, or, I could quick flip it to one of our investors. But the bottom line is we're agreeing to a purchase price and a close date. And that's what we're essentially agreeing to. So what we do after with the property to make a profit is pretty much irrelevant.
Love it. Love it. So you keep the exit strategy vague, but you explain that there is an exit strategy because you are a business in the business of making money. Nobody's in business to lose money or break even. You're in the business to make money. So as long as that's made aware, then what the exit strategy is really irrelevant because one of them, whatever it is going to be profitable for you.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter to them. I mean, as long as, hey, I'm agreeing to the purchase price and the close date, what we do with after the property, how we exit the property, whether I sell it quick, I fix and flip it, or buy and hold, it doesn't really matter to you. Obviously, it doesn't. So, it's the purchase price and the actual close date is probably the most important thing. So it's, if we keep it like that, I've never really had a problem with a seller. And if they do see a $91,000 fee on there, yeah, that's pretty bad. And say, hey, listen, I told you right from the onslaught, we're investors, and we found an investor that we're going to partner with on this deal. And guess what? It's $91,000.
Love it. What about you, Pace? What are you doing?
One of the many things I like about Sean Terry is that he's very transparent, honest, and when you operate your business the way that he just suggested, it's easier to sleep at night, right? When you're just honest with people. So That's the same thing that we do. What I tell sellers as I'm leaving primarily is this also opens the door for me to be able to send over cash buyers. Is I'll say, look, we're a real estate investment company. I have no idea how many houses we're going to buy this week or next week. So depending on how many houses we get under contract, we might turn some of those into buy and holds. We might turn some of those into fix and flips. We might even bring on some financial partners or two. And ultimately, I might even find one of those financial partners that wants to do the project on their own. So I'll just sell the house to them, depending on how many houses I get into my pipeline. So over the next couple of weeks, I might need to get access to some potential investors, maybe some contractors, or maybe somebody I might flip the property to. And then that opens the door to be able to send cash buyers over there anytime, where sometimes the cash buyers don't even know who Pace is. And the seller will say, oh, do you work with Pace? And they'll go, I don't know who Pace is. I'm sorry, right? Because my disposition guy is the one working that appointment. But because I told the seller flat out, hey, sometimes these people don't know who I am. They're part of a large network of investors. I might sell the property to them. It never surprises the seller when the cash buyer might say, I actually don't know who Pace is. So honesty and transparency will make you excel in this business and make you want to talk to more sellers because you never feel like you have anything to hide.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was the biggest hurdle for me, Jamil. Starting out 2013, I've been a real estate agent for so long. That was always in my brain. And I remember having lunch with Derek Jar, and he's a real estate investor, developer. Yeah, great guy, right? And he goes,
I've known him for about 25 years. We go way back. Yeah.
Incredible. And we're having lunch, and he goes, well, Brent, if you got a property under contract, could you find the money to close it? And I said, well, I don't have the money. I don't have enough money to buy these $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 houses. He goes, could you find somebody? I go, well, you could do it. He goes, yeah, there you go. So we could partner on it, right? So you could be the buyer. And I said, yeah, I could be the buyer. He goes, you could do that with every deal. You could close on them if you wanted to, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, listen, just go with the contract and let the contract do the talking. Go through the contract. When it says that you have the right to assign the contract, if they want to talk about it, explain what that means. Just say some of these properties we buy, some of them I sell off to another buyer that wants to buy in this neighborhood. And because of that, I've never, ever had a problem. I think the number one thing is go confidently into those properties as a cash buyer, because you can find somebody, you could partner with somebody in your market that will give you the money to buy it if it is an actual deal. Okay, so one, you got to have that confidence in your soul that you can go out and complete that transaction if you need to. And let the contract do the talking. You have an inspection period, explain that. You have the right to assign the contract, explain that. If they have any other questions, then answer them. But just be open with people. And because of that lunch, it just opened everything up for me, and I felt confident. And then I went out and now it just blew the roof off. So I'm very, very fortunate. Yeah.
I want to touch on this question here because Sergio's blowing up our comment feeds.
This is one of my favorite questions of all time.
Asking the same question over and over again. And he asks, how do you sleep at night when you have a home run wholesale deal, but feel like you're stealing the seller's equity by making so much profit?
Can I jump on this real quick?
Please do, Pace.
So one of my, what I did for a long time is I was running a construction company, right? We did all of Open Doors turns and OfferPad, Zillow. We did a lot of turns for big companies. And one of my gals that ran that company for me, her name is Anna Martinez. She probably is watching. She's been with me now 6 years. When we made the decision to go full-time in wholesaling, real estate investing, all that kind of stuff, fixing and flipping, I got Anna on the phone talking to sellers, and I told her, hey, you'll actually be able to make more money earning a commission by being a wholesale acquisition gal. And she wasn't doing a good job for the first 30 days. And it came down to this exact question being the reason why she wasn't able to convert. She had trepidation, she had hesitation because she felt like our offers were low. Here's how I solved her conversion problem. I sat down with her, and I have a list, I have a Google sheet to this day that tells every deal I've ever done, the name of the seller, their email address, where we bought it, who we sold it to, all that stuff, kind of like a journal of all the deals I've ever done.
Cool.
And I started at the most recent, and I started going backwards, and I got to about the 20th deal. And what I was doing is I was telling her the problems that I solved for that seller at a high level that the seller, their real estate agent, or other investors could not solve for that seller, that ultimately gained my ability to buy that house at a price that made me money. I have never once bought a property on wholesale price that I did not solve a major problem for a seller. And unfortunately, you have to do a couple of deals to understand what that feels like, to be in their living room or be over the phone, where you can solve those problems and understand that is how you're making money in this business.
Fantastic. So essentially, Pace, it's just based on the amount of value you brought to the situation.
Yeah,
right?
In fact, that $91,000 deal I made, what happened is they had an access lien. Access is Arizona's government healthcare program. They had an access lien on the property of $180,000, and they could not sell the property, obviously, because they had no equity. So I went down and over the course of 30 days negotiated Access's lien of $180,000 down to $9,100. Do you feel like I earned my $91,000 on that transaction?
Yeah, absolutely. You solved their problem. You solved their problem in the biggest way.
Right. So when you get in this business, I can't even imagine the stories that Sean Terry has of all the problems where he's saved people's lives, almost literally saved people's lives because he bought their property on a wholesale price. Sean, I mean, hundreds of stories you probably have in your bag that you could tell about problems you and your acquisition team have solved for people, right?
Yeah, and I think it comes down to your ethical self, how you operate, right? I always try to operate and do the right thing the best I can do, that I know. And then also too is when you're talking to someone, because we're ninjas, right? We're all you guys are ninjas. We're all ninjas. We have the ability with what we know, with persuasion techniques, understanding handshakes, tonality, being able to closing questions, all those type of things. We have a skill that is very. You can use it in a bad way or a good way. Now, I have been in situations where I know for a fact, and my skill set has the ability to negotiate with someone and make huge potential deals. But the ethical side of me is like, I'm going to help them out, but I'm going to do the right thing. And I have walked away from $50,000, $60,000 deals and made $3,000 to $5,000 on that same deal, because at that moment in time, it was the right thing to do in that situation. Because I believe in my heart that someday I'm going to stand in front of God and I have to answer that question, were you a good and faithful servant? So I don't want to be standing there going, oh yeah, I took advantage of this grandmother that for all of her money before. I just can't do it. So that being said, is that there are some deals that, we did an $80,000 deal. We walked in, and Brandon knows, you can ask him the same question. Walked in, and the place was trashed. It was a mess. And we said, hey, what would you like to get for the property? And the guy said, give us, I think it was like $84,000. And we said, okay. We gave him what he wanted, but it was still an $80,000 deal. Now, if someone's a landlord, they trashed the place, they left it a mess, there's liens on the property and stuff like that, we have to solve the problem. We have no problem going in and doing that. We have a property that we closed last week in Akron, Ohio. It was a mess. The place was a disaster area. It was a disgusting pit, and we got that deal under contract, and I think that was a $16,050 deal that we closed. But it was, there was a lot of hurdles we had to overcome to get that deal closed. So you just got to use your internal guidance, and inside what's right and wrong. And if you're guided by that in this business, then you'll have no problem.
And I also want to add, sorry, Brent, you first.
No, you go ahead, Jamil.
I had my larger deal that I did it was a land deal. It was 4 acres in Chandler, actually. It was a school and a church. And these guys were selling this property for $1 million. And it had been for sale for a long time. I'd driven by that sign a bunch of times. It never went away. For sale, for sale, for sale. Everybody who called them, They wanted $1 million and nobody could do anything with it. I went in and I contracted it, and I gave myself a lot of time so that I could do some entitlements and do a rezone on that property. Now, here's what happened. I ended up being able to assign it and make $276,000 on that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I sleep very well at night, even though it was a school and a church. Why? Because I created the highest and best use for that property.
Yep.
So when you're looking at taking an exit, what value do you bring to the situation, and how have you restructured the highest and best use so that added value could be brought to that situation? And if you can do that in the best way possible, then it doesn't matter how much money you make, and you should sleep like a baby.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think early on, one of my biggest struggles was I hallucinated everything. I assumed that they wanted a certain price. I assumed that they wouldn't accept this. I assumed all these things. What I learned was it was one specific deal that really pops out. We had cold called this gal, right? TTP, baby. And it was an older gal, and she said she wanted to sell. She was moving in with her family. She only wanted $5,000 after she paid off her mortgage. Well, we hallucinated. Oh, she probably owes $150, blah, blah, blah. She owed $9,000. Okay. So this is a property in Central Phoenix. She wanted $14,000 for it.
Wow.
So, right. So we go to the appointment, and I said, I told my acquisition manager, get every family member possible there. Make sure everybody is on board. Everybody she's moving in with, everybody. They had the whole family over. There's like 8 people over. And we went through the contract. We explained it. I talked to the son, and I said, your mom only wants $5,000 to walk away from this. This house, on Zillow alone is $180,000. She wants $140,000. She wants $14,000. Like, do you know what's going on? And he goes, listen, she prayed, and she's only comfortable with $5,000. She wants you to make a ton on this. And I said, well, why doesn't she just give it to you? Why doesn't she sell it to somebody else? Why doesn't she do something? And he goes, that's not what she was told to do. She's supposed to sell it to you and make $5,000, right? So the family's on board. Everything's going through. This gal couldn't be happier. She was moving into the house with her family. Her life was just great. We hallucinate all the time. We hallucinate. We assume we know what everybody's going. Go ahead.
I have never had that happen to me. That happened to me. I pray that you can make a fortune.
Right. Yeah.
Love it.
But here's the thing. I picture this business. It's like when you TTP, when you send text out, when you got AdWords going, and you got Bing going, and you send direct mail. Those are all lines in the ocean. If you've ever been deep sea fishing before, you don't know what you're gonna get. You can pull up a huge, gigantic, massive fish, or you pull up a small one. But the deal is you got to have the lines in the ocean. If lines in the ocean and you're actually fishing, you're doing the business, you're going to get deals that just sent to Phoenix for $14,000, insane. And you're going to get $4,000 to $5,000 deals. But the bottom line, it's you got to have the lines in the ocean.
I love it, guys. So we've got about 5 minutes left, guys, and I want to give. Yeah, I know. How fun was this, Sean?
Keep it going.
That went fast, man. That was like.
Let's take one more question, guys, because I want to make sure we're pouring in, and I want to give Sean an opportunity to tell people what's happening and interesting in his market. And so you guys chat for a second. I'm going to find the best question on here, and I will and I'll put that up.
Oh.
Sean, do you have any events? Do you have any new training? Do you have anything that that you can get tell everybody about?
Well, there's a couple different things. I have a course called Remote Millions that we've launched that's been doing really well. It teaches how essentially to remote wholesale across the entire country using Google AdWords, using the direct mail campaigns, using the platforms, the texting platforms that we're using to find the buyers and connecting them together and stuff. Obviously, Jamil, that'd be great. Moving properties to you. We have a new CRM that's coming out here in about 2 weeks. After that, we have this new technology coming out that is insane, that literally will take that marketing industry by storm at the mid to end June. I can't really tell exactly what it is, but we're working on it for a couple of years now. And it will literally take $11 cost per lead and bring down to $11 cost per lead down to about, I don't know, 10 to 15 cents. Ooh. It will take $400 cost per lead and bring it down to $15 to $20 cost per lead. It's the most insane, and it's all around data, but it's the way the data is extracted is crazy. And we've worked with some really big players to put this together, and it's going to literally take the industry by storm. So that's coming out here shortly. So
awesome. How can people find out about it, Sean?
If they just just follow me on Instagram at Flip to Freedom. I go live pretty much every single day on Instagram and Facebook. I'll be talking about it, I'm sure, on Instagram here coming up shortly soon.
Awesome.
By the way, my wife told me this morning, she's like, I'm so excited about Sean Terry. Out of all the guys in wholesale, Sean Terry is my favorite to watch on Instagram Live.
Why?
you for some reason, you're the flavor that she enjoys. I don't know, but she loves what you're up to. Nice.
I was joking when I said this to Brent. I think he got a little offended because I said Sean has the squarest jaw in wholesale because Brent thinks he does. But you two guys,
no,
you two
it's
guys,
the Marine, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm all red. I was at the pool all weekend, hanging out by the pool, catching some rays with
you guys are the best. But here's an easy question for all of us. We all do JV deals. When we're doing a JV deal, do we use an exclusive or a non-exclusive option? What's your thoughts on that? We'll just go around, starting at you, Pace.
I think you know the answer to that for me. So I don't know. I think somebody else probably handles all that stuff in my company. But
so you do an exclusive with us, but every
relationship I have when I'm doing deals, I don't ever see the paperwork, and that's how I prefer it. I just like to have relationships back and forth with people.
It's an exclusive option, and that allows one company not to to market it, but I'm not opposed to non-exclusive options, honestly. I think you want to give everybody the option that works best for them. The problem with non-exclusive options is everyone's tripping over each other, and then there's all these different prices out there, and it turns into daisy chain mania. Yep. It makes it really tough. And
Jamil, can you explain this to me like I'm 10 years old? Like, yeah. What are you talking about? This is
actually, Jamil, can I revise my answer?
Of course.
I didn't quite understand the question. Yes, when I send out a deal to any wholesaler or any buyer, typically I'm not blasting it out to especially with you guys. Like if I send a deal to Keegley, I'm not sending that out to multiple people. I'm making it easy so people aren't tripping all over each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And what he's talking about, guys, is exclusivity, right? So if you're asking somebody to help you sell your deal, are you giving them exclusive rights to sell that deal? Are you also marketing the deal, or are you also giving that deal to a number of other disposition people in the city that will also be trying to sell the deal? And so if it's non-exclusive, that basically is a free-for-all. You can shop it, sell it, give it away. It's going to turn into a circus, in my opinion, when you go non-exclusive. I prefer the exclusive option because it keeps things uniform and it makes it really easy for people to track what's happening and where. What are your thoughts about that, Sean?
My thoughts is if I've done everything I can do to try to sell a property and then I can't sell it and I've exhausted all measures and now I'm going to work with you, say, then I'm going to do an exclusive agreement. I'm going to stop marketing it. And I'm going to let you do what you do best. And you're going to be able to market it. You're going to be able to talk to everybody. You're going to be able to get it sold. Because the last thing you want to do is you put all the effort, energy, you try to sell the property, then you come back and go, oh, no, sorry, I've already sold it. You committed to a buyer. Now I've committed to a buyer. It makes you look stupid, makes me look stupid, right? And then that's just a bad way to do business. So if I've exhausted all measured, I'm going to close my door. I'm going to open the door to you, and I'm going to let you run with it.
Fantastic. I think that's really, we're all on the same page there. Thank you so much. I just wanted everybody that's here. We've got, over 500 people watching. If you guys noticed, I'm wearing a special hat today. My hat has the Subject 2 logo on it. And I just want to congratulate my brother Pace on the launch, this amazingly successful launch of his Sub 2 course. Yeah, ring it, baby. Yeah. Pace has worked so hard on this, guys. I've seen him bleed. I've seen him sweaty. I've seen him cry. He has literally poured everything that he has into this, and I'm excited for you, brother. Where can people get more information? How can people join the Sub 2 army that you're collecting right now? Tell us a little bit about it.
Bro, thank you. First and foremost, the person I first ever reached out to jump into this wholesale business was Jamil. I DM'd Jamil on Instagram, and I had no idea where that journey was going to take me. And you've been such a brother to me. Again, you're my daughter's godfather. Like we've become brothers. So going back to that conversation where people talking about competition, guys, all of these guys can be looked at as my competition, but they can also be looked at as my brothers that I do things with, I learn things with, I do deals with. So thank you so much, guys. You guys saw me looking away from the camera, but it's because we just got one of our students their first contract ever today. And this is a photo of Anna. Do you guys remember my story about Anna worrying about, oh my gosh, we're stripping equity? Mm-hmm. Anna has become an amazing person in terms of acquisition. She's the one that drove out on my students' behalf, locked up the contract. That was Anna that was worried about what we do as a wholesaler. And now she understands how many problems we solve, how many people's lives we benefit. There is no greater business to be a part of in my world, and in my opinion, than wholesale, real estate investing, creative financing, all of the whole gamut. I know Sean does a lot of that stuff too. In fact, Sean's been doing it so long, some of the words that people are using today came from Sean's creation of those words. There's descriptions of things that Sean came up with. So thank you so much for everything you've done, Sean. And thank you for coming on the show, brother. Thank you. All right.
So what's your course? I want to hear about it.
My course.
My two loves is real estate and education, and a little commodities trading over here. That's meant for fun.
Well, my course basically
pretty low.
my course is just about following us on our journey to building a portfolio of 1,000 houses, all utilizing creative financing. And so we're buying probably, back in October, November, December, we acquired 60 properties, all utilizing creative, subject to seller finance, a couple of lease options, but primarily we're picking things up subject to and seller finance. In fact, Friday, I recorded a conversation with myself with a seller buying a house, 0 down, 0% interest on seller finance. And it is so fun. It makes it so you never want to stop doing it. It is absolutely like real estate heroin. And so all I'm doing in my course is I'm just letting people sit on my shoulder and watch me acquire. And then as they need help, like we locked up a sixplex in Maryland today, all on seller finance. So I'm just taking what I'm already doing and kind of doing the Gary V model, which I'm just documenting what we're already doing along the way and letting people learn as we grow our portfolio. And we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, I can tell you one thing right now is, and I was just talking to a couple other people earlier this week, that where we are in this market right now, in this wave of distressed sellers coming to them into the market right now, there is no time in history better because getting these properties and doing that model and being able to build a massive portfolio very quickly is right now where we're at. Not only with single family houses, but with sixplexes, and also too, I mean, I buy large apartment complexes. We're looking at 200 and 300 unit buildings. Now's not the time for commercial yet. There has to be a little bit more time, maybe about another 6 to 12 months before the commercial is really going to get hit hard, where we can come in and get some amazing deals. But for someone right now, you could literally build a 200, 300, 400 unit portfolio of single family houses with that model. I did it. I built I built like a 120 unit portfolio just with Mike Lima in the early days, basically with that exact model right there.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Unbelievable.
And just to let you guys know, Pace is in the room next to me. I came in here and he was laser focused. I came in about an hour before this hotline. He's laser focused and he's like, I have to make every single one of these students successful. Like he is like, this is an obsession. This is not just putting it out there so that he can get on stage and talk and be well known and all that. That's great. But he truly has a coaching heart, and I'm just so thrilled and so excited that it's finally here. It's 2 years in the making. And guys, if you have any interest in subject to, you have got to, I mean, there's no better hands to be in than
your timing is perfect. I mean, your timing is absolutely perfect when it comes to something like that. So
beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you again, Sean. This has been a fantastic show. My favorite one to date.
Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate you so much, guys. If you got any value from today's episode, do us a favor, like, share, subscribe to Brent Daniels' YouTube channel. Check me out on YouTube. I take my shirt off in one of my videos. It's really, really a funny, terrible day in my life. But
hey, Jamil, will you touch base on what Sean Terry threw out there as a contest one more time as we're wrapping up? Let's talk about that one more time so that people know one more time.
Sean made a fantastic offer, guys. We want everybody right now. So if you're still on the hotline, snap a picture of you watching the hotline right now. Go to your Instagram, tag @flip2freedom, @flip2freedom, @BrentDaniels_TTP, @PaceMorby, and myself @JDAMJI. And Sean Terry on Wednesday, after a collaboration with the three of us, will actually PayPal you $250.
Well, we'll pick a winner. We're going to pick a winner to share, and the winner we'll PayPal $250 cash.
Not only that, guys, but all three of our social medias are going to be blasting your information to everybody as the winner. You'll get a lot of followers. People will know where you are. They'll know what market you're in. We'll help you gain traction in the business that you're in. So, guys, remember, share it, like, subscribe. We love every single one of you guys. Thank you for joining us week after week. Sean, you've been the most amazing guest. And yes,
great show.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, Sean, thank you. I mean, I think we've had more comments on this being like the greatest call ever. So thank you so much for that, guys. It is this is the audio of this is on Spotify under podcasts under Wholesale Hotline. Obviously, we're still waiting for it to get onto iTunes, but once it's there, I mean, that's where you can go through and really nitpick and really take some awesome notes. Obviously, you can watch it here, but if you're driving around, put that good stuff in your brain. Just like Sean said, having all of those lines out there comes down to consistent quality conversations with distressed property owners. You do that, you win. It is undefeated. So check it out. Make sure you're being proactive. Thank you, Sean, so much.
Show up for Wholesale Hotline 13, guys. It's going to be Carlos Reyes. See ya.
Boom.
See you guys.